Pub Battles Austerlitz creates white-knuckle tension by keeping Napoleon's true strength secret. In a two-player game, only the French know their true strength. When I play solo, not until the coalition spots an optional HQ does either side know. When that happens, a die is rolled. On a 3 or less, the French only have the smaller army. If this is the case, the coalition must defeat the French. A stalemate is a French victory. On a 4 or more, the French are all in, and they must win. A stalemate is a French loss. Which will it be today? The answer lays hidden in the mist of the fog of Austerlitz, which won't burn off till noon. Let's see how this plays out. The French move an HQ out to the north. Doktorov moves north. A French HQ is moving up the Austerlitz Road. Bagration moves straight west. Kohlrath invests the hill above Sokolnitz, but is unable to see Lannes' corps. Another French corps enters. Those were the early morning maneuvers. Now we move on to mid-morning. Kohlrath had 3 corps on his reserve card, in reserve. Lannes' 5th Corps is exposed. The Austrians begin with an aggressive assault on the right flank. Davout arrives and skirts along behind the lines. Lannes forms his line and tries to hold. Sol occupies Blaskowitz. Doktorov advances and deploys. Soult deploys. With Soult's deployment, Bagration's corps becomes visible and must deploy. Bagration spins about and drives hard into Soult's flank. The French corps advances up the road. We'll start with the combat in the south. Russian troops of the coalition drive back the French. Next combat, the French decide the order of combat, and they will fight this combat first. The French are driven from Blaskowitz. Now the flank attack. Hilary's division is surprised and ridden down by Bagration's cavalry. The opening coalition assaults have proven disastrous on the French. It is now late morning and the fog clings stubbornly. If Napoleon wasn't bluffing, and this is all he has, it seems the coalition have the thing in hand. The French corps creeps along the center. Liechtenstein's cavalry drives ahead into the retreating French. Kenmeier drives his troops into the French right. Doktorov secures Blaskowitz and moves his artillery onto the hill. Trebuchev's troops move to the hills and overlooking the retreating French infantry. Kohlrath's artillery opens up on the French. They fall back, and his infantry surges forward. Lannes boldly counters. Something must be done. Davout continues moving. Bagration slams into the side of Soult's corps, threatens the bags, and he sends scouts forward to investigate the center. They discover Napoleon was not bluffing. He has only these forces. Now the coalition knows it must win. Constantin is forced with a tough decision. If he commits the guard here, they will win here. But will they win there? This is a very powerful corps. Now he can commit them there, but if he does that, they'll win there. But you have 2 French corps here and they're still at full strength. And this largely Austrian force really can't be trusted. As so often happens with guard commands. He splits them up. Now he can't command both at the same time. Constantin has to divide up his command. He sends the lifeguard with the cavalry escort to Bagration and sends word to Bagration that they are now under his command. Now reassigning commands is not strictly legit within the pub battle system, but the advantage of playing solo is that I can be very accommodating. And while it is historically plausible, your opponent need not be so accommodating. Meanwhile, Constantin stays with the Grenadiers and their cavalry. Sue's corps fades back, retreating in good order. Maybe they can reach the hills and hold. Lannes' counterattack in the south. Wathier's hussars run down the Austrian hussars. And of course, with his infantry assault, those hussars simply ride away. It's now noon. The fog is lifted. Napoleon's plan needs his army here to hold. Since the announcement at turn 4, since I forgot to move the camera, at this point the battle has essentially broken down into two different battles. Here we have Lannes' corps and Davout's corps facing coalition forces including part of the Russian Guards. We'll begin with their attacks. In the far south, there's just a detachment of troops. They are destroyed. Here the hussars are charging the infantry. The hussars are destroyed. The attack on Lannes' left. Thin strung out troops are destroyed. And here we are in the north with Sue's corps. The line holds, but the artillery is lost. Next combat. The French fall back and the coalition, at great cost, gain the ground. Now we're into late afternoon. Sue gains the heights. Glorious artillery opens up on the French. With the artillery driven off, the assault begins in earnest. Kinmeyer brings in his cavalry. Bagration begins his assault. Coalition forces move out to the north and prepare for an assault. In the desperate final hours of the day, Lannes' corps flies into action and attacks everywhere that they can. Liechtenstein moves his cuirassiers forward. Constantin's guard presses into Davout. Doctoroff renews the assault. We'll begin with combat on Lannes and Davout's corps. Showing true tactical mastery, Lannes is able to engineer an ideal situation in the flank. The coalition lost. And Lannes, on his left, surrounds some Austrian troops of doubtful quality. But in a pinch they fought like tigers, heavy losses on both sides. And now the guards on Davout. But the French still occupy the town. And now the other battle, Sue's corps in the north. We'll begin with Bagration's assault on the French right. The French execute a fighting withdrawal. And here in the center, Sue's troops are driven from the monastery. And last, in the town of Austerlitz, the French fall back to the hills. Now it's early evening. The French may yet hold. Bagration tightens the noose. Kinmeyer has one little band of hussars left, and they charge Wathier's hussars. Meanwhile, Lannes holds tightly as Colera's troops continue to push all along in front of him. Meanwhile, the coalition troops continue their drive on Sue's corps. Sue continues his fighting withdrawal. Liechtenstein's troops drive forward. Coalition continues the pressure on Sue. Wheeling, turning, counterattacking, Lannes continues his desperate fight. Constantin tries a desperate gambit. Davout pulls his troops back. Monet has surrounded the coalition hussars. The hussars are cut down. And here, Liechtenstein's cuirassiers. Cuirassiers are run down. Here, Trebuchev's drive and Sue's remaining troops. Sue's troops continue to execute a successful fighting withdrawal. And here's one final attack on Ney's men. They are driven from the town. Now we come down to the last action of the game. How close is it? If the French lose one more infantry block, they lose. Bakhtarov continues his assault. Sue absolutely will not give up. In a glorious bid, the Russian Guard charges Sue's exhausted men. They are destroyed. That's it. The French are broken, but it was very, very close. It almost didn't happen. Hey, if you like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll try to keep more of this action coming. Thanks for watching.